In this video, I'm gonna roast every single Naughty Dog game out there, and remember, it's just for fun and no hate intended. Crazed, 1987. Crazed marked Naughty Dog's rudimentary debut as a skiing version of E.T. the Extraterrestrial. With bare-bones graphics and controls best described as hazardous, Crazed was more likely to incite controller throwing rage than winter sports enthusiasm. The minimalist obstacles offered marginal entertainment value beyond marveling at retro jank. Perhaps their inauspicious start foreshadowed Naughty Dog's tendency to abandon concepts quickly, evidenced by their swift pivot to space adventures. At least Crazed laid the groundwork for polish to come before Crash Bandicoot careened into living rooms. But this icy downhill slalom was clearly a rookie first effort. It was their first or technically second game, so I'll definitely give them props for efforts. Dreamzone, huh? More like Scream Zone, because I guarantee playing this game had you screaming for mercy. Naughty Dog's foray into 80s gaming is like a trip to the neon-colored nightmare realm. The graphics? Well, let's just say your grandma's quilt has more pixels. But hey, who needs sharp visuals when you can have a psychedelic acid trip through abstract shapes? I guess they figured, why make sense when you can just give players a migraine? And the plot? Don't strain yourself trying to find one. It's like they threw a bunch of random ideas into a blender and hit blend, resulting in a narrative mess that even a quantum physicist couldn't untangle. The sound effects, they're like a bad 80s sitcom meets a broken synthesizer. So, congrats to Naughty Dog for creating a game that's the gaming equivalent of a fever dream. Dreamzone? More like Scream Oh No Zone. Play at your own risk, and don't forget your headache pills. Keef The Thief, 1989. Keef The Thief. Look, I know Naughty Dog has made some all-time classics, but this aimless fantasy mess sure wasn't one of them. At least Naughty Dog realized D&D stuff wasn't for them quickly before Keef's stench infected Crash 2. But hey, I guess every great studio needs at least one total blunder to humble them. And Keef definitely kept Naughty Dog humble in those early days. Rings of Power, 1991. Rings of Power. Finally, Naughty Dog made something legitimately fun. I'll admit, combining fantasy action with strategy was innovative for its time, but let's be real. I got bored with the repetitive missions after a few hours max. Look, Rings of Power was Naughty Dog's first step towards respectability. I'll give it that. Before this, they were churning out snooze fests like Keef The Thief that I couldn't pay friends to play with me. So as forgettable as Rings of Power seems today, it kicked off Naughty Dog finally not sucking. Way of the Warrior, 1994. Naughty Dog spent 3 years cooking up this fighting flop as an exclusive for the 3DO of all consoles. 3 years for a lackluster Street Fighter clone no one asked for? I think it's safe to say before Naughty Dog became giants, they were naughty puppies stumbling around, peeing on carpets with messy experiments like this one. I mean, who even owned a 3DO besides like 12 people? Way of the Warrior felt like Naughty Dog's awkward teenage phase. They were still finding themselves and figuring out their true strengths. At least they rebounded from this misguided mess right before total irrelevance. Crash Bandicoot, 1996. Legends is such that Sega executives still sees this game in their worst nightmares. Crash Bandicoot, the wacky marsupial that straight up stomped Mario's platforming dominance. Sure, linear paths and wonky camera were minor party poopers, but Crash's arrival was like a whirlwind trailer park tornado, ripping apart the neighborhood that was Sega and Nintendo's cozy mascot relationship. Naughty Dog could have rested on their laurels after dethroning the big guys, but instead they kept raising the bar, teaching old mascots new tricks along the way. Gotta respect that hustle and bold vision rather than playing it safe, even if respect meant getting bodied by Crash repeatedly. Crash 2. Crash's sequel polished the wacky, furry spinning formula without reinventing the wheel. Tighter level design and slicker graphics kept the ride thrilling, but was Naughty Dog just milking their marsupial cash cow rather than taking risks? Look, I still wasted countless hours searching every crate and bonus stage to 100% complete Crash 2. The Crash trilogy laid the foundations of my gaming obsession. But part of me wishes Naughty Dog switched up the recipe more rather than squeezing out such similar sequels in quick succession. It was clear their minds were drifting elsewhere creatively, even if fans gleefully continued spinning, sliding, and bazookaing their way through Crash 2 with huge grins plastered on their mushy faces. Crash Warped. On paper, I should adore Crash Warped. Time travel to diverse locales like ancient Rome? Sign me up. Expanding the suite of wacky playable characters also seemed smart for shaking up the familiar Crash formula. But in reality, the third mainline Crash entry already felt creatively tapped out. The core-spinning, bazooka-blasting, crate-smashing gameplay loop stayed addictive as ever. But was I really mastering all the time trials and hidden gems for the challenge? Or just out of blind Crash devotion, Crash Racing? Following platforming tradition, kart racing seemed the logical next genre for Crash and his anthropomorphic associates to conquer. Crash Racing certainly nailed the characters' zany personalities with distinctive racing styles and hilarious victory animations. But even decked out in racing helmets, it was clear Naughty Dog's interest in their freaky Crash cast was finish line flagging. The limited character roster, simplistic weapons, and repetitive tournament structure showed a competent but uninspired kart racer, signaling Naughty Dog's time with Crash wrapping up. Those wacky Bandicoots rocketed Naughty Dog to stardom, but their minds were clearly shifting gears towards a certain treasure-hunting action hero next. Gotta hand it to Naughty Dog. They wrung every last drop out of Crash over a 4-year span with zero shame. 4 games featuring everyone's favorite wacky marsupial mascot in just 48 months? That assembly line efficiency would make even the most demanding corporate overlords shed proud tears. Naughty Dog worked that poor Bandicoot to the fuzzy bone with 0 breaks. I'm surprised they didn't stash Crash in a crate and let him tag team with his sister Coco for Crash Bash just to ease the workload. But hey, the fans sure didn't complain about the frequent servings of furry mayhem at the time, despite signs of creative fatigue. Jak and Dexter, the Precursor legacy. Jak and Dexter oozed buddy comedy charm, but call me heartless, I was cackling when Dexter got doused with dark eco. That motor-mouth blabbering made me root for his mutation. Still, their banter and fluid platforming helped Jak fill Crash's shoes. However, Naughty Dog played it too safe. More Precursor orbs to collect? Groundbreaking. We kissed Crash's crazy goodbye for more of the same with prettier graphics. Wake me up when Jak gets a personality beyond mute pointy-eared plank. I still Dexter though, Jak 2. Jak 2 seemed desperate to ditch the kiddie reputation with a pointless edgelord makeover. Oh wow, baby's first dystopia. So mature. Nothing conveyed darkness like awkwardly jamming in blood, guns, and GTA knockoffs. Don't get me wrong, I still wasted hours in Haven City. But between tedious checkpoints and giving Jak actual emotions, I almost missed the mindless collecting of Precursor orbs. Jak 3 sanded down its predecessor's try-hard edginess into a playable experience. Also, who asked for dune buggy racing and gun staffs? Don't worry, Jak, I didn't need coherent combat. At least Jak 3 marked the trilogy's end before the schizophrenic franchise completely lost its mind. Jak X Combat Racing with Jak's saga finished. I guess kart racing seemed the logical move. Those vehicle missions were clearly the highlight of fans' Jak memories. Turns out Naughty Dog shocked everyone, delivering one of the most robust kart racers ever. But wasn't abandoning Jak's roots just another desperate ploy to stay relevant? And poor Dexter, relegated to announce booth after years of scene-stealing wisecracks. Nice reward. At least Jak X offered satisfying vehicular carnage to go out on. Uncharted, Drake's fortune. Drake ziplining onto the gaming scene gunned down foes and expectations alike with cinematic flair unseen in 2007. But between tedious wave defense sections and emphasis on style over substance, Uncharted 1's flaws glare brightly now. Drake himself came off an arrogant Indiana Jones knockoff with cringeworthy quips, and repetitive shooting sections were a glacial pain, almost making me root for the mutants to silence Drake's smugness. Still, seeing those lush jungle vistas for the first time was undeniably enthralling. Drake's fortune shook up gaming despite clear room for growth. Uncharted 2, Among Thieves, improved on the formula tremendously with slicker shooting and stunning visuals that made jaws dislocate in awe. The dynamic train sequence still impresses, but search through the breathtaking backdrops and more of the same hides. Wave defense tedium persists, and climbing puzzles offer minimal brain teasing. At least we're spared too many desperate attempts at witty banter this time around. Drake works far better when he's ducking gunfire versus opening his mouth. Still, I'm happy giving Uncharted 2 a pass for elevating the cinematic spectacle. Uncharted 3, Drake's Deception. By Drake's third globe-trotting jaunt, signs of creative stagnation were clear. Recycled enemies and repetitive firefights screamed complacency, covered up only by finely polished visuals. The cruise ship capsizing displayed new heights of technical wizardry. But was I ever challenged or surprised? No. Even the flashy choreographed fisticuffs grew monotonous quick. Uncharted 3 shone as a demo reel for the PS3, rather than a game that respected players' time and intelligence. But hey, At least Drake finally toned down the painfully cheesy one-liners a notch. I already roasted The Last of Us for prioritizing story over gameplay in a previous video. But hey, the die-hard fanbase demands I nitpick this sacred cow again. The emotionally manipulative story and weak gameplay still leave a sour taste. Ready your Molotov stands. Look, I'm glad Naughty Dog trades fun for trauma porn Oscar bait now. And what combat depth lies in endlessly scrounging bottles to lob at clickers between maudlin cutscenes. The Last of Us represents pretentious gaming better than any title before or since its release. There, I said it again. The balance is the key. The Last of Us, Left Behind. If I say what I think about this game, I'll be suspended for 6 months. So I rather not. Uncharted 4, A Thief's End. With his story ostensibly wrapped, why can't treasure hunter Drake just retire peacefully? Does everything need an unnecessary epilogue nowadays? Uncharted 4's profoundly personal tale sounds gripping, but the repetitive climbing, shooting, and set pieces wore me out 20 hours ago across multiple sequels. At least this globe-trotting grand finale focused more on characters versus bombastic moments. But for all the graphical polish and refined controls, A Thief's End desperately lacked gameplay innovation. Instead, hoping story alone distracted from monotonous fights and climbing puzzles, solved a million times already. Uncharted, The Lost Legacy. The most expendable Uncharted character gets her own adventure no one demanded. Chloe was memorable for what exactly again? Lost Legacy refined mechanics further, making gunfights and exploration smoother than ever. If only the stakes were compelling rather than a disconnected side story about tepid characters. Visually immaculate as usual, but I wish those graphics wowed me with new ideas, rather than more of the same cover shooting and climbing environments, barely distinct from prior entries. Nice try making fetch quests relevant to the protagonists, but I'm still just collecting treasures out of habit, not narrative investment. The Last of Us Part 2. The game that managed to combine zombie apocalypse with a masterclass in relationship drama. I mean, forget survival, let's focus on who's breaking up with whom while avoiding clickers. It's like a soap opera with extra gore. And speaking of gore, the game's got more dismembered body parts than a zombie butcher shop. Naughty Dog must have thought, why just have heart-wrenching moments when we can also rip out a few hearts? Literally? Let's not forget the stealth gameplay, because nothing says thrilling like sneaking around for hours, trying not to make noise while Ellie tries her hand at pottery. Seriously, next thing you know, we'll have The Last of Us 3, crafting with clickers. But hey, at least the game gave us a valuable lesson. Revenge is bad, except when it involves spending hours avenging pixelated characters. So, kudos to The Last of Us 2 for giving us emotional trauma and button-mashing therapy all in one package. Alright, before you all jump in comments, let me tell you something important. This video is just for fun and entertainment. I didn't insult anyone, and neither such is my intentions. If you enjoyed this video, let me know in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye, folks.